Hello everyone and welcome to this week's instalment of Sherbourne Chef. Not what I did there. Okay, no, it's with me and it's in the HE room. Now today we're going to look at making a frittata. Now it might sound all posh, but basically frittata is an Italian omelette. So it's a little bit like a quiche, it's a little bit like a Spanish omelette. So it does involve using eggs. Now, if you do have an egg allergy, unfortunately, this recipe is not going to be for you. But it is a recipe that you can go to your cupboard, get the different vegetables out and kind of do a mix of what you want. So we're going to start by looking at what we need today is in terms of equipment. Now, in terms of equipment, I need a mixing bowl. It can be plastic, mine's glass. A whisk. A sharp knife. A chopping board. Now the chopping board I'm going to use, I have got two today. So I've got my brown and I've got my white. Okay, the reason I've got my white is because we will be cutting some cheese. But we start with the brown. And then I've got a small, this is probably about 6 or 7 inches. Okay, oven baking tray or dish that's got the removable bottom in it again. A little bit like we used for our banoffee pie. And that's about it. Oh, the only other piece of equipment I have got is this. And I'll show you how I use this later. It's a little bit posh, but quite easy. It's called a spiralizer or a slicer, either one. In terms of ingredients, now this is where you can really make the frittata your own. You will need 4 eggs. Okay, you can use different cheeses, so you might use mozzarella or cheddar, but I'm going to be using feta, which is a kind of Greek cheese, so it's a goat's cheese. I'm going to use some spring onions. I'm going to use some frozen peas. I'm going to use a courgette. And I'm not vegetarian, so if you're vegetarian, you can add perhaps another ingredient, such as sweet corn or spinach, but I'm going to add a little bit of ham to mine today. Again, I will have to use the other chopping board for the ham. So that's it really. I'm going to make a start in a moment, but first I'm going to make sure I've washed my hands. I've washed my hands and I've just got a couple of other bits ready. Because I did forget to say that just to stop the egg sticking or the frittata sticking to your dish, I am going to put a little bit of butter around the inside, just so it doesn't stick. Now, you may need an adult to help you with the first bit, because the first bit is to get the oven ready. So I'm going to go to the oven and I'm going to set it to 180 degrees. Won't be a minute. Remove that from it. So as you can see, my oven's come on now, and that's preheating to 180 degrees. And that will take about 10 minutes, which is about the time it's going to take us to get all our vegetables and things prepared. So with the oven preheating, I'm going to start to prepare the vegetables. Now the first thing I'm going to prepare are the spring onions. So what we do with the spring onions, we just take the tail off and the top off. And then they've got like an outer skin, like as they are an onion. And you're just going to peel that off so there's no thick skin going into your frittata. And tidying away as we go. Now I'm going to cut both of these into small pieces. So I'm looking, you could use scissors for this, just to cut down. I'm actually not moving the knife, I'm moving the onion. So I'm slicing through the onion, making it into small pieces. Watching those fingers again as we come to the end. Then I'm going to add my onion to a bowl. To the onions, I'm just going to add some peas. The next thing I'm going to do is to prepare my courgette. Now, to prepare the courgette, I'm going to do the same as I did with the onion, top and tail, and then I'm just going to cut it in half. And the next thing that we're going to use is that posh bit of equipment I said, it's not really that posh, the spiraliser. So, I've set my courgette into my spiraliser, and all I'm going to do is make some nice ribbons of courgette. So all I'm doing is turning my handle, and as you can see, I'm getting courgette ribbon come out the other end. That brings it to a halt. Being careful because it's a blade. And there is my courgette ribbons. Again, I'm just going to add them into my peas and spring onion. I'm now going to do the other half of the courgette. So in my mixing bowl now I have the ribbon courgette, I have the spring onion, and I have the peas. Next, I'm going to go on to cutting my ham. I'm only going to use a couple of slices of ham for this frittata. So this is just normal cooked ham, 2 slices put together. If you notice, I'm now using the yellow board. If you wanted to, you could roll this up and use scissors and just cut it straight into your bowl. But I am going to cut up the ham into some small pieces. Again, keeping my fingers out of the way, making sure we're nice and safe. And I'm going to add that ham into my bowl as well. The recipe that I'm doing asks for 100 grams of feta cheese, and the blocks that are usually in supermarkets are 200 grams. So all I'm going to do is take half of that block, put the other half back in the fridge. Now with the feta, I'm just going to crumble the feta into a bowl. So I'm just using my fingers now to crumble that feta. It crumbles quite easily into the bowl. You'll notice I'm now using the whiteboard for a dairy product. And there's my feta cheese ready to go. We're nearly there now. The last thing we need to prepare are the eggs. The next stage, what we're now going to do is to take 4 eggs, crack them onto the bowl, and then break them into the bowl. If you do get any eggshell in at this stage, use the other piece of eggshell just to fish it out. But here we go. Using our thumbs, split your egg, and in it goes. And straight to waste with the shell. If you do compost, use your composter. 2, 3, and 4. Now this is a good time to add any seasoning that you might want to the eggs. So in seasoning you might want to add some salt and pepper. Then using your whisk, just roughly whisk your eggs together. Now that's all of the preparation done, apart from we've just got to use the butter to line our baking tray. Now when it comes to buttering or lining your baking tray, you could use a basting brush. But actually what I prefer to do is in your butter, usually you get this little protector. And what you can do is take a little bit of butter on that protector and just wipe it using the paper all around the inside of your dish. I'll show you what that looks like very shortly. Put that back in there. And there you go. That's ready for our mixture to go in. Now the next thing we do is we pour the egg mixture into our bowl. All in. And then very simply, what we're going to do is to add all of our ingredients. And you might want to use a spoon at this point. And just push everything into our egg mixture. In fact, I'm going to give it a little stir at this stage to make sure it all comes together nicely. It could have been that I did that in the bowl actually. That might have been easier for me. And then in goes my feta cheese. And again, I'm just going to give that a little stir together. What I could have done actually looking at this was to put everything in that egg mixture, so everything was coated in the egg instead of doing it in the oven dish like I have. Just making sure that everything's covered and tapped down nicely. Now our next stage is to put this in the oven for half an hour or 30 minutes. That stage you're going to need an adult to help you. With using a set of oven gloves, I'm now going to put the frittata in the oven. Open the door, it will be hot that comes out, and then quickly onto the top, close your oven and then set your clock. I'm going to set mine for 25 minutes. Just so I can check on things. Now that gives me an ideal amount of time just to go back, clean everything down and get ready for serving my frittata. Looking in on my frittata as it's baking in the oven, I've noticed that some of it's dripped down out of the tray. Now that would make me reflect and say it might have been better, I don't know what you can see there, sorry, to use a baking dish that wasn't removable. So I'm just hoping that my eggs had enough time to harden off before it started all dripping out onto the bottom. We'll see when it comes to serving the frittata in about 20 minutes time. I know that my frittata's got a couple of minutes left on it now, probably between 1.5. Actually, it's got 49 seconds left on it. So that's just enough time for me to say that if you want it done a little bit quicker, what you can do is use a muffin tray. I've seen them so that you make like little individual muffins, and they're quite nice, so you can serve them straight from the muffin tray. So I'm going to get my oven gloves ready and I'm going to wait for my pinger. Now you'll notice when it's cooking that it's risen slightly, so just be aware of that. When I open the door, I am expecting that to go down a little bit. Get me words right. Go down a little bit as well. So let me just check my times. Now we've got 5 seconds left. So I'm going to put my oven gloves on and get ready to remove my frittata from the oven. There goes the pinger. Make sure we ask an adult for help at this stage. Put that on my cooling tray, close the oven and turn it off. Now I must remember that I need to go back and clean the bottom tray. So I'll just show you what this looks like now. So there is our finished frittata. As you can see, the egg has expanded and covered everything in. Now I'm just going to leave that on my cooling rack for a couple of minutes, and then I'll gently put the knife around the edge and then cut it and show you what it looks like. My frittata's been sitting for about a minute now, or perhaps 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my knife all around the edge of the dish to stop. As it cools down, it's sticking. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the dish, where are we, with one oven glove, and then using another, here it comes, kitchen, I'm just going to free it up. It's a little bit warm still. And move that onto the cooling tray like that. All I use there, I got halfway through what I was saying there, that's just another clean kitchen cloth. And in a moment I'm going to cut the frittata and show you what it looks like. As you can see, I've moved the frittata from the baking dish now, and I'm just going to cut a slice. Before I did get it out or off the base, I just ran my knife all the way around the base of the dish just to make sure it freed up nicely. So I'm going to cut myself a slice now. It is still hot, so be careful. Bring in a plate, slip the knife under it, and there you can see the different ingredients have all cooked out now. And there's our frittata. Now you could serve this with some nice salad, perhaps some crusty bread, and put some balsamic vinegar or something on it. It'd be quite nice, I think. In fact, I think I've got my lunch sorted for today. I couldn't wait until dinner time, so I'm having a sneaky little piece now. Now, I hope you enjoyed making the frittata. The nice thing about it is, as long as you've got eggs and cheese, you can really put whatever you want in it. So into it, you could use mozzarella cheese, you could use cheddar cheese, you could use really any vegetables to put into it. The principles are all the same. Well, what have I learnt from doing the frittata today? I would use a different baking dish so that I could actually make sure it doesn't seep through. But it did come out very, very easily in the end. Sorry, just removing a bit of frittata. I think that would be about it. Oh, I know one. And to put the egg into the mixture with everything else. So after I prepared my vegetables, put the cheese in, I'd then add the egg in and just mix it all round. So it went straight in the baking dish and then into the oven. So I hope you've enjoyed it again. Next week it is half term, so it'll give you a break from one of my recipes. Well, have a go at it, see how it goes, put your little twist on it, and perhaps you could send me some pictures. Happy cooking, everyone.